Hi, coming up next on the SPNN Forum, we have Katey Decelle, co-station manager at WFNU. Hi, welcome to the Kwame McDonald studio at SPNN. I'm Martin Ludden, Executive Director of the St. Paul Neighborhood Network, and we're here today on the SPNN Forum with Katey Decelle, co-station manager of WFNU 94.1 on your FM dial in St. Paul. Katey, welcome to the Forum.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
Katey, you're not a stranger to SPNN, so welcome back in this capacity.
Thank you. It's nice to see the renovations that have been done since the last time I've been here.
So tell us a little bit about WFNU. What how did it start? What is it? Who do you serve?
Yeah, so we serve the community of Frogtown in St. Paul, which is a neighborhood located in the University Dale area.
Okay.
We started way back in 2016. We started as an online-only station, and it was 2 laptops, 2 microphones, in a building that was falling apart on some folding tables and some folding chairs. So very, very grassroots.
Yeah.
We got our FCC license, and right away we decided to just stream online before we were able to build an antenna, because that's a process.
Right.
So there was a couple other stations in the Twin Cities that also got their FCC license at the same time. There's KRSM in Minneapolis, WEQY on the east side of St. Paul, and 2 or 3 other ones that I don't know off the top of my head. And they all chose different ways to go about running their stations. Some directly went to build the antenna first, but we wanted to get some programming in there first before we started building the antenna. Nice. So we started training people in the neighborhood, and anybody was welcome to our trainings. And you didn't specifically have to be from Frogtown either. You could just be someone that's interested in radio, and you could even live in Minneapolis.
Across the river. Yeah.
So we started holding like monthly trainings and getting people familiar with kind of FCC rules, how to structure a show, how to play music, how to have a talk show, how to run our tiny little mixer that we had connected to the
folding
laptops.
table.
Yep. And so we got about maybe 5 regular shows on these little tables that would do either daily or weekly shows. From there, we started raising money to build an antenna.
What does an antenna cost?
That's a good question. I'm not exactly sure at the top of my head, but we did a big fundraiser. We had to hire some people out of Philadelphia who do this for a living. They come to low power and community radio stations and help them build the antenna. So we put our antenna at the top of the building, which is Los Ocampos restaurant is there on University.
Kitty corner from the Rondo Library there.
Correct, yeah. On University and Dale. They are very gracious at letting us have a radio signal tower on top of their building.
Nice.
So after we raised the money, we brought these people out from Philadelphia. It was this awesome day-long project where we had all the people who were trained in the radio programs and other people from the neighborhood who just wanted to see what was happening all come out and help these guys carry stuff up the steps onto the roof, and it was a really cool community gathering, and we had a barbecue out there, and so the first time we had when the antenna went up, we had like a microphone up there, and we were like, it's on, we're broadcasting. So it was really a cool community effort.
Yeah.
We are on 94.1 FM, which is, so low power means that we only are in a 5-mile radius of where the tower is. So you can get us over here at SPNN. You can get us on the east side of St. Paul, depends on like the weather, but sometimes Roseville. Sometimes you can get us like the west side of St. Paul. So that's how we started off.
Right on. 5 miles in any direction from Los Ocampos.
Correct. Yes. Yes.
And that's, so you mentioned, so there were a few stations that came online in the Twin Cities at the same time, all low power FMs, as opposed to traditional FM.
Right.
one of the reasons like we have some affinity for WFNU and KFAI and others, even though KFAI is traditional FM, is it's community media.
Yes.
So can you talk, like, what does it mean for you guys to be a community radio station?
Right. Yeah, I think, well, our station in particular, it's all volunteer.
Okay.
So everybody who has a radio program, whether it's music or a talk program, they're there because they love radio, they love music, they love talking, they love hearing themselves talk. It's a variety of things. So our focus is, especially low power radio, our focus is hyper focused on the community, on that 5-mile radius in Frogtown. So community radio to us is for the community, by the community, right? So a lot of times in mainstream media, you may see like a news anchor go into a neighborhood and report on something that they don't necessarily know the dynamics of the neighborhood or of the culture there. And this is kind of the opposite of that. We want like our media, our journalism done by people who live in our neighborhood. Yep,
and that's we share that, and that's we saw so much national media get that so wrong in the summer of 20 around the murder of George Floyd, and like, so building up the capacity within a community to tell the stories of a community from the community is so important. Yeah, that's fantastic. So you're all volunteer. You have 24 hours of time to fill. And how does that work? How do folks get a slot and like have a show, and what does that look like?
So, as you said, we run 24 hours a day, 365. We have an application on our website for people to fill out if they're interested in having a radio program. We have a few slots available. When we first started, we were like, anybody can have a show. Now we are a little more particular in who we choose because we don't want a lot of repeats of shows. We have all different kinds of music shows, different kinds of talk shows, political shows on like either side of the spectrum, art shows, cooking shows, all kinds of different things. But it's basically, we program it so every day is different. We have some shows that repeat like during the night. But when we don't have any live shows on and we don't have any pre-recorded shows on, we only play local music. Okay. So we have like a catalog of thousands of songs that are local Minnesota artists that our computer just automates and draws from. So if you're a local musician and you want your music, clean, radio-friendly music played on Frogtown Radio.
FCC acceptable.
Yes. There's also like a space on our website there you can upload your music, and then we'll review it and just play it on air.
We'll come back to this again, but just because you've mentioned it a couple of times, what is the website?
Yes, thank you for asking. It's WFNU.org.
Okay, and so that's a place where people can figure out how to get the training, to sign up for a slot, and to pitch local music.
Yes, correct.
Very cool. Yeah. We had Damian Strange on. Oh yeah. I think we just taped last week to talk about some of the stuff he's working on with mini culture, and so we went way down the rabbit hole on local music. Yeah. And it was very much fun.
It's really cool. Yeah. We've partnered with like High School for Recording Art, which is in St. Paul, and they have amazing musicians, and so we have a lot of their music on. They had their own show at once, but it's really cool, like getting to know musicians and organizations and individuals who are just really interested in music, like that you would never have heard about without this avenue through the radio. It's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, and that's, I know it's hard to, it's easier I think now to pick up new music because you can find it in so many different places, but to have a radio station to be able to actually find new music on the dial, that's cool. So you talked about starting with like a folding table, I think in a church basement?
No, actually,
This is before the church basement.
Before the church basement. So we were probably, it was like the 4th or 5th floor, and it was a building on University Avenue that was falling apart. And so the ceiling was leaking, there were rodents. So like our wires sometimes were chewed through by the rodents. It was not the ideal space. So thankfully, we found a space at Faith Lutheran Church, which is right in Frogtown near University and Dale, in the basement of their church. And it is, our on-air studio was an old janitor's office.
Okay.
And then we had a separate production room for people to pre-record shows or do trainings or practice. And that's an old locker room. So there was actually literally working showers in there and a toilet that we covered up and actual lockers that we painted with like WFNU. And it was it was much better than the place we were at before.
So no rodents.
No rodents.
But I imagine like acoustically challenging.
Yeah.
The locker room aspect.
It's an old church, and so the pipes, when it got really cold out in the wintertime, which it does, the hissing of the radiator sound and the banging of the radiator pipes would happen all the time, and which is not great for radio.
No. So from the church basement, where are you now? Because this is fairly new.
Right. We literally are moving on up. We moved to the 10th floor, which is the top floor of the Capitol Ridge building. So it is a hotel.
Okay.
Top 3 floors are businesses. The rest of it is a hotel, an operating hotel that is off of 94 Marion.
Is that the one right by the Veteran Service Building? So you kind of overlook the Capitol?
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
And how's that? Like more space, nicer space, both?
It's amazing. You know, we got room service. We got
mini bar.
There's like, you know, cleaning services that come in like a regular hotel, and there's a bar restaurant down on the main floor, so we can like have a pre-show meeting down there and then go up to the show. I mean,
very
elevator, which is nice. Climate control.
Yeah. Nice.
It's a great space to be. And like our view from the top floor, our on our studio overlooks Frogtown. So we can see University Avenue.
Perfect.
We can see like St. Agnes Church. We can see almost to Roseville in the north.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a great view.
On a clear day. Yeah, that's a great spot to be. Congrats on the new space.
Thank you.
So we talked a little bit about kind of where the community fits in, the low power media side. Can you go back a little bit to the structure? You talked about having kind of a production room where folks could pre-record. So what's your mix there in programming, like live on air right now and pre-recorded?
Yeah, right now it's about 50-50.
Okay.
Before COVID, we had a lot more live shows, but we did close down the studio for a little bit of time during COVID and had people, if they were able to, record their shows at home, or if they had a studio they would go to record. It's pretty easy nowadays to like record your own podcast or radio show. I mean, really, you just need like a smartphone. And so we did some like online trainings to be able to teach people to do their own radio shows from home and then send them to us. So I think, you know, about half of those people that started doing their shows at home during COVID are still doing their shows at home.
Okay.
So half of them are live in studio and half of them are pre-recorded. We do have currently our on-air room and then our production room. Our production room has some editing computers. It's got like 4 mics, a couple computers. So we do our trainings in there, and if there's a big interview that someone wants to do, like if someone wants to interview like a roundtable discussion with political candidates or something, we would have them do it in the production room. And so none of what happens in the production room is live, so it's all editable. And we can take that and then air it whenever it fits.
Very cool. I'm trying to picture like the training side of this, and when you're doing live radio, I have this vision of like the DJ with this, I assume, a mixing board. Like how much tweaking, like how much training, I guess, do you need to operate all that and be live on the air and sound good?
Yeah. Most of the people that come in to do their shows live aren't like your typical, like, I think I know what you're picturing, like the DJ who's like scratching and like...
Or like an NPR DJ even. You know, they've got their big board too.
Yeah. So our production room has the same board as our on-air studio. So I think there's about 16 different channels. So all the little levers go up and they all do something differently. Our on-air studio is a little bit easier because there's only 3 mics. And so there's less buttons to touch.
Less stuff to play with.
Yeah. So typically, if someone wants to have a radio show, they'll apply online, and then our board will meet and discuss the applications. And if we like your show and we have space for it, we'll have you come in and give you a little tour of our small space, and set up a time for you to come in and do like a practice show in the production room. And so if it's a talk show, have your topics. And we have kind of like a worksheet we give to every person who wants to have a radio show, depending on if it's music or if it's talk, the worksheet differs. And so let's say, for example, if it's a music show, like where are you getting your music from?
Right.
Are you getting it, like, do you have physical CDs or like a cassette records or like do you have a hard drive with music on it?
You're lugging your vinyl collection up the
Right,
elevator.
some people do, yes, yeah. So figuring out where you're getting your music from if you're having a music show, and then kind of the rules that go along with, there's certain things that you can't play the same artist 3 times in one show. Like there's certain things that you wouldn't
Is that
know
a WFNU radio
No, that's
rule?
just
Or an
FCC.
Okay,
Yeah.
wow.
Or maybe it's community radio, FCC, because I think Top 40 might not do that.
Right.
Yeah. So we train them in the production room. They do like a fake run-through show, and they do that until they feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And so usually that's around 2 or 3 times.
Okay.
And then they may decide, I really like doing this, and I don't actually ever want to go live.
Right.
And some do.
Just keep doing it to tape.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so if they do want to do live, we shadow them for the first 2 times before we get them in there by themselves. And if mistakes happen, if people mess up, it's not a big deal. It's just there's certain things like swearing and certain things that are a little bit bigger deals, but usually it's something like someone leaves a mic on or someone's volume isn't turned up all the way, something that's very forgivable.
Yeah. If you're just joining us, we are here at the SPNN Forum talking to Katey Decelle, who is the co-station manager at WFNU, which is Frogtown's low-power community radio station at 94.1 on your FM dial if you are within 5 miles of Los Ocampo on University and Dale. So we were just talking about how folks, kind of step up to going fully live.
Yeah.
Is there always someone there? Like, is there somebody to say, like, you're too quiet? Or is it just, potentially a volunteer DJ solo?
Yep, it's usually someone there solo.
Okay.
So, and we don't, my co-manager and I don't listen like 24/7.
Right.
So if we are listening and we hear like something's not loud enough or, the mic's turned too high or, we can call in,
right?
Like, be live on air and tell them, turn up your mic. Or, we can, we've got our computers there are automated in a way that we can sometimes go in the back route way and do things.
Just give it a little twitch.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many DJs do you have? And is that what you call them, DJs, or are they?
We call them programmers.
Programmers,
or hosts.
okay.
Yeah.
How many do you have?
Live and pre-recorded, I think there's about 50 right now.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's quite a few. And some people have been there since the very beginning, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, they're really very dedicated, which is great.
And experienced.
Yes,
very
experienced. So yeah, when people apply for a show on our station, you don't have to have any experience at all. That's kind of the point of it, right? Like, like going into media, going into radio, if you're applying for a paid job in like a commercial radio station or a bigger station, typically they want you to have some kind of experience.
Right.
And so we like to think of ourselves as that like starting point. Like rather than paying a bunch of money for, Brown College, or I don't know if that exists anymore, some kind of radio college, we will give you this free training and the experience. Right. Which is, it's awesome. It's such a cool program that, I feel like everybody should be able to take advantage of. And now we've had, it's a high turnover because it's volunteers. Right. But the cool thing about it too is that the turnover happens a lot when people actually get paid jobs in radio.
Yeah,
so
we were
cool.
coming around to that.
Yeah.
So what does that look like? I mean, have you actually seen this go from, someone comes in with no experience and now has like a paid radio gig somewhere?
We just had a guy come in, it was the summer before last. to do a weekly show. He had an idea. He was doing his own podcast at the time, but he'd never had any live radio experience. And he just got a job last month at NPR reporting.
Nice.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's super cool.
And we have a partnership with Hubbard Broadcasting, where they send us like their jobs that they're looking for people, and we'll send them some people who are interested. And so it's this really it's really sweet to see someone come in with an idea and like see that develop and grow and actually turn into something rather than just be in their head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, to get out over the airwaves. And then also, and that's, I mean, we do some of that here at SPNN too, but so you're providing this community kind of information and storytelling resource, but also it's a jobs program.
Yeah.
And it's a way to get folks into media and creative pursuits and careers. So that's super cool.
Yeah, it's really rewarding.
Yeah, I imagine. What do you all have coming up? Like, what are ways people can plug in, either as programmers or supporters, or how can people engage?
Great, thanks. So we recently, in the past 6 months, got a new smartphone app.
Hey!
And it's really pretty cool. And you can find it on all your app stores if you search Frogtown Radio. And you can listen anywhere in the world. So you're overseas and you want to stay connected to Frogtown and St. Paul, you can listen on your phone. It's got some really cool options on there too. You don't have to listen live. You can listen to shows on demand. If you have a favorite show that you missed, you can just listen to it straight on your phone. And one of my favorite things that you can do on the app is you can send us a voice message. So like you can say like, hey, I love listening to Frogtown Radio because I get to hear music from my neighbors, or whatever you want to say. And then we can take that voice message and play it directly on the radio. So you can hear yourself on the radio.
Yeah, and you hear that a lot. I'm thinking of 1A on NPR. Like people leave their voice commentary all the time, and it's a sweet way to bring in even more community voice.
Yeah.
So you started as WFNU started as internet radio, right?
Yep.
And now it's both internet and LPFM.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so anywhere you've got an internet connection,
right,
through the app or the website, I presume.
Through the app, or you can stream us on WFNU.org.
Cool.
And so that's a cool thing that we've kind of been developing the app and working with more. One of the interesting things about low power radio and community radio is like the advertising. We call it underwriting.
Yes.
You can't technically call it advertising. So we get our funding mostly through grants.
Okay.
Some of it is through underwriting. But with the app, that is not policed by the FCC at all.
Right.
So we can advertise the heck out of the app, and advertise on the app all we want, which is very nice for us trying to raise money for a small nonprofit.
Yeah, I believe it. And so who are some of your bigger underwriters, and how does that, are you looking for more? How does that process
we're always
work?
looking for more underwriting. City of St. Paul, Ramsey County.
Nice.
I think we had the Minnesota Department of Transportation on there. It varies. During COVID, we did a lot of COVID-related announcements. We've done some small businesses, different local events. We have like a sliding scale rate depending on if you're a local organization or another small nonprofit. So our rates are very reasonable for underwriting.
Yeah, and just another more community voice coming out, more information, and a revenue stream. Do you have any, so I think we talked a little bit before about a partnership with KRSM coming up?
Yeah, so we don't have an exact date set yet, but KRSM, I would say, is like our sister station on the other side of the river. So it's another low power radio station. And we're planning on a dual concert together. So taking some Minneapolis artists and some St. Paul artists and going to a brewery and having a concert.
Very cool.
Thinking end of October.
Yep.
We want to have a costume contest as well, so that would be ideal.
Nice. And when we have more information on that, we will share that as well on our channels.
And that'll be on our website and all our social medias too.
Yeah. What are your social medias? Where are you all?
Just we are on Twitter, we are on Instagram, Facebook. I'm not that familiar with Snapchat or TikTok, so we're not on there yet.
I think we're about the same age. Nope, I'm not there either. Is that just at WFNU?
Yep, WFNU or Frogtown Radio.
Okay.
Search.
Cool. And so from the Frogtown neighborhood, I think you have a sweet frog with headphones as your logo.
We do.
Yes.
We have like a a really cool design that was started, like we had a contest right when the station got its license to have someone design a logo for us, and it's a record with a frog in the middle with headphones on.
Nice.
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, and that's, I think, the cover of the app too, right?
Yes, it is.
I've seen that on my phone screen.
Yeah.
So we've got ways folks can engage. They can be a programmer through the training. And do you have any specific trainings coming up, or you do those one-on-one?
Right now, we are training one-on-one because we have such limited airspace available.
It's a good problem to have.
It is, yeah. And we're being more particular about the quality of show applications that we get too. So it's better to have quality than quantity.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they can be a programmer, they can listen at 94.1 or on the internet, support you as an underwriter or just a plain old citizen donor.
Yeah, we always love donors.
Yeah.
On our website, there's lots of buttons to donate. I think there's one on every page.
You're a nonprofit, right?
We are.
Yeah, so 501c3.
Yep, we started. So previously, when the station first started, we were a program under the Frogtown Neighborhood Association.
Yeah.
And then myself and my co-director and another volunteer started a nonprofit March of 2019 to house the radio station.
Cool. And now you're your own independent entity.
Correct.
Well, thank you. Thanks for sharing your time here with us today and for being a great community media force and partner in St. Paul. We have a maybe surprisingly vibrant community media scene here in the Twin Cities. So thanks for being a part of that.
Thanks so much for having me. It was really nice to talk to you.
Always a pleasure. We have been here in the Kwame McDonald studio at SPNN with Katey Decelle, co-station director of Frogtown Radio, WFNU 94.1. You can find more information about them at wfnu.org. Thanks for tuning in.